Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Codex India Summit in this, our 10th anniversary year. My name is Rakesh, and I am the CEO of Codex. Last Thursday, we witnessed probably the single most important event in British history since the Second World War. The shockwaves of Brexit are still being felt across the world. You can probably add the football result to the mix as well from last night. So in this session, we're going to examine what Brexit means for the UK-India and Europe-India relations. Can the UK negotiate a better trade deal with India outside the EU? How will the 800 plus UK-based companies react? And how will the Modi government view Brexit? All very important questions. As you can see, in true Codex style, we have 3 keynote speakers, all of whom are at the top of their game in their respective fields. So I'm going to get straight into the presentations to maximize what is very limited time this morning. Our first speaker really needs no introduction, but for those of you who are outside the UK, John Redwood is widely regarded by many as one of the big thinkers in British politics. In the mid-1980s, he was chief policy advisor to Margaret Thatcher and is widely recognised for encouraging her to embark on the privatisation programme, which totally transformed the UK's industrial landscape. Most of you know that Mr. Redwood has been a Eurosceptic for most of his life and has been very active campaigning for Britain to leave the EU, finally winning the argument in last week's referendum vote. So it's with great pleasure that I would like to welcome back Mr. John Redwood to share his thoughts on Brexit, Modi and UK-India relations. Mr. Redwood.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We voted to leave the European Union. We most certainly didn't vote to leave Europe, and there is a very important distinction there. The result of the referendum, I think, was very clear, and there will not be a rerun, as some people would like to see. I don't think we ever have a rerun with a general election, and all sorts of foolish things get said in general election campaigns, and the losers just have to get over it and adjust and win back the loyalty and support of the British public. What I hope will now happen is that we will come together and understand that whilst those who voted the other way think there are lots of dangers and hazards ahead, it is also teeming with opportunity. And we need to pull people together and make them see the positive and understand that there are many advantages. And it's a great fortune that you have this conference today, because I think the UK-India relationship is a very good example of a crucial strategic partnership in the making, vital to both countries, which is going to be of growing importance. And out of the European Union, the United Kingdom is once again a sovereign country who can do what she wishes in conjunction with India, sign a trade agreement, go more quickly in developing bilateral relations at government level and for our companies, something which we cannot do from within the European Union because they handle all our trade activities. One of the frustrations many of us had during our 43 years in the European Union was we didn't think they were nearly active enough and flexible enough to develop trade relations with the rest of the world. And it is quite curious that over the 43 years that we were in the European Union, they didn't, for us, manage to sign a single trade deal with important big partners ranging from the United States of America through India to China and Brazil. Whereas many smaller countries than us got on and signed deals with those countries over that time period. And I think one of the first things that will come out of this, with goodwill on both sides, is much quicker progress to a UK-India trade deal. One of the things I'm sure the government will be announcing quite shortly in the United Kingdom will be a new, highly professional unit for negotiating trade deals. They will need to recruit staff from inside and outside government who are good at negotiating and are professional lawyers in the trade field, because we don't have any competence in the UK government as of today at that, because that was all held at EU level. And that will be an urgent requirement so that we are open for business. And I would like to think India will be one of the first countries wishing to take advantage and to see how we can improve and develop our relations. I met Prime Minister Modi when he visited the United Kingdom, as I'm sure many of you did, and it confirmed my very favourable impressions of him as a business-friendly face and someone who knows that India, a great country, can be more prosperous and greater still by looking outwards and having many more links with the rest of the world. And I think Mr. Modi has done a great job for India in travelling a lot, in projecting an image of the new India and showing a willingness for India to be much more open to capital, talent, ideas from the rest of the world. This is a very exciting world to be living in. And I think one of the problems the UK, on my side of the argument, had with the EU is we felt it was a 1950s structure trying to wrestle with an internet-connected, networking world and wasn't really catching up with the plot and understanding how the modern world works, and not understanding the gravity pull of power to the great emerging countries of India and China and the other emerging countries who have far more people than Western Europe and now have very talented and well-educated people who are going to be part of that drive to improve the living standards and the freedoms of humanity as a whole. And in this very exciting world, you need to be flexible and you need to share the best around the world. And there are things that Britain knows that we wish to share with you, sell with you, offer to you, free research, academic level, for sale from commercial operations. You have skills and ideas in India that we need to draw on. It's already happening to a considerable extent, but it could happen on a bigger scale, and we wish to have a freer and more open approach at government level on the United Kingdom side so that we can facilitate, or at the very least not get in the way, when those opportunities and those enthusiasms are developed. The British people backed, I think, 3 central propositions which it is now the duty of the United Kingdom Parliament to put into practice for them. The main proposition they backed was the slogan in the campaign that one, they wished to take back control. And it really was a very simple argument. Did you wish to sacrifice quite a lot of control over taxes, laws, decision-making for the benefits of the European Union, or did you wish to be in control again, as most other countries are, of your taxes, your spending, your laws? And they definitely wanted to take back control. Indeed, quite a lot of people on doorsteps, if you tried one of the other arguments on the Leave side, one of the more specific arguments, usually responded that no, they got the big picture and they just wanted to take back control. And then there were 2 main manifestations of the take back control that were endlessly debated. One was the wish to spend our own money on our own priorities, where there were rows about the amount of the money, which were exhaustively debated at the time. But I think everybody agreed there is some extra money to spend, and a lot of British people thought they'd rather spend the money for themselves. And there was a very strong argument about fair immigration. And the Leave side very clearly said, we don't want to stop immigration. There will still be a lot of immigration for an independent Britain. But we wish to control it, and we wish to have a fair system, because what we don't like about the current EU-driven system of migration is that we can only impose controls on non-EU migration, and so it is very unfair. You have to discriminate all the time in favour of the European Union, whereas many of us feel that the strong ties of history, culture, family that bind us to the Commonwealth were distorted by the pro-EU migration system that the EU imposed. So the campaign said that there will be a control system with the same rules across the world, so that the Europeans must have the same rules as apply to everybody else. But that, of course, we will still need to invite in a lot of people, particularly those with skills and talent, or those who wish to be students, those who come with investment money and ideas with companies. Everybody will be very welcome. And we need to reassure everybody that everyone who is legally settled here at the moment under European rules is very welcome to stay as long as they wish. We had no intention of changing that in any way under international law. It cannot be changed, that you are guaranteed that you, if legally settled, have your rights, and you can only change policy for future applicants. You can't change it for historic applicants. Another piece of good news is that the EU did get around to negotiating special trade arrangements with 53 rather small countries around the world, and the United Kingdom automatically inherits those trade treaties in its own right, because under the law of treaties they novate to the former parties, and so the UK has every right to continue with its own, what becomes bilateral treaty on the same terms that the EU treaty did, just as the rest of the EU has every right to continue with that treaty, although they've lost one of their members who originally agreed it and signed it. And so those things continue uninterrupted. The only thing that can change that is if one or other of the countries in the agreement wish to change it. I don't think any of the 53 countries will wish to change their agreement with us, and we certainly have no wish to change our agreement with them. The object of policy from here will be to get a smooth transition and to show that things can be better, not worse. None of us voted the way we did to make things worse, and none of us voted the way we did to damage confidence, interrupt trade, or put barriers in the way of the movement of ideas, goods and services. And we wish to keep the sinews of trade as open as possible. Some say that our partners in Europe will wish to punish us on exit. I don't take such a dim view of our partners as those who say that. But more importantly, it's clearly not in their interest to do that, because they sell us much more than we sell them. And so I would expect, once the anger and the disappointment has died down, and there's genuine rawness of emotions at the moment, which I understand, they will see that they need to carry on with something like the current arrangements, because it's in their interest to do so. And we've already seen German industry lobby its government to say we wish to impose no barriers at all in the way of trade with Britain, for the obvious reason that they are very successful in selling to us. So our aim is to end up with a better and friendlier relationship with the European Union. I see myself as a good European, and I have been wrestling and agonizing for years with this problem that my country and many of my fellow countrymen and women simply do not want to join the euro, join Schengen, and go on to political union, which is the nature of the European project. And so Britain was always semi-detached and argumentative and difficult, and it created tensions within the Union. I think we will be friendlier and better when we can be a strong ally of them in all the areas where we mutually wish to ally, very strong trading partners, but no longer trying to hold them back. I think they need to sort out their euro. I wish their euro every success. My observation on their euro is that you cannot really have a single currency that works without a single government. You need a single sovereign government and a sovereign people to back it up. You need the tax revenues of the whole area to back it up. You need the credit rating of the whole area to stand behind it. And they are gradually moving towards that position. And it would be increasingly difficult for the UK to be in a political decision-making unit when it had opted out of so many colossal parts of the scheme itself. It would cause endless friction. So I think we are doing Europe a favour as well. We are not doing it to try and break up Europe. I regard the future of the European Union as a matter for the members who stay, and I wish them genuinely every success in their quest for greater union based around their currency, and it's in our mutual interest that it works. But I think there are far more political and economic risks in the Euro project than there are in an independent Britain, trading more generally with its friends around the world, based on the very considerable strengths of the British people, the knowledge base, the skills base, the amount of talent we already have in the UK, able to contribute to the world economy. So I'm an optimist today. And then people say to me, but haven't you seen the news, John? You know, just look at all the damage being done. Yes, I watch the markets extremely closely. But of course, the news, as always, only reports the more sensational or the bits that they think are bad. And I review it all because I try to come to independent judgment. I don't always come to a judgment that favours my own side. If my own side's got something wrong, I've been quite famous for telling them they've got something wrong and trying to get them to change. So what has happened in the markets? Well, the most remarkable thing, something which I don't think anybody predicted, is the surge in bond prices in the United Kingdom. United Kingdom state debt has reached record highs never seen before. That means that the UK government can now borrow more cheaply than ever before. we now have to pay under 2% per annum for 30-year money and under 1% per annum for 10-year money for the British state. So it's a huge vote of confidence by the markets in the creditworthiness of the British state. And isn't it ironic that it's exactly at the point where a couple of ratings agencies go more negative on the UK that the markets have this surge in bond prices, and bond prices have gone up something like 8% since the news of Brexit was announced. So that's phenomenally good. If you look at the FTSE 100, the FTSE 100 closed on Friday, 3% down on the day, but higher on the week, because it had run up ahead of the vote for various reasons. And it fell a little bit again yesterday, but it's within the normal margins of a reasonably volatile market, and it didn't fall anything like the extent it fell in February on the news of the commodity crunch, which was, I think, a much more important world economic event, which does have a real impact on wealth and incomes in the future. The only thing which, on my side of the argument, is bad news is that sterling did fall quite a lot. But that is a mixed blessing. A lot of exporters who said they wanted to stay in nonetheless will be great beneficiaries from a cheaper pound, so they can either sell more or make more profit, or a bit of both. I think we're very competitive, arguably overdone a bit by the markets, and we'll have to see how they settle down in the weeks ahead. But when I was asked about this before the referendum, I always stuck very carefully to the view that the pound would go up and down, not necessarily in that order, and that would continue to happen if we voted out, and it's certainly happened on a big scale all the time we've been in the European Union, and it is notoriously difficult to forecast how the foreign exchange markets will react. They may overdo it on the downside, in which case they'll correct at some point and get to a more sensible balance. But in the short term, people who own UK assets from abroad have been inconvenienced. People who want to buy UK assets will now find them considerably cheaper, and people who are running businesses now have a more competitive base from which to export. So overall, I'm very optimistic. I think India is doing a great job. I look forward to more Modi reforms. I think the inward investment reforms are galvanizing and exciting and will generate a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of cross-business from the UK. Britain is very much open for business, and as we return to being an independent country, as India is herself, so I think we can have stronger and better links, and an independent Britain will be very business friendly and much more flexible than we've been able to be in the European Union.